When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Hello and welcome to a special impromptu edition of the Sosbans and Sidesteps podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, the one and only HG Rugby Mr. Hugh Griffin and John Newydd. Good evening, my friends. It's been a while. How are we?
Hello. We're all back from our summer holidays. We've come in, haven't we? And there's been it's not an emergency, but there's just lots of small things have happened. They deemed a meeting of the minds.
So what has happened is now that rugby is officially over, Hugh is starting to go into withdrawal. So he's called a pod just to get his fix. Obviously, our intervention did not work for any of you long-time followers. John, you're rather quiet over there. What are you doing with
that? Nothing at all. I'm in between my holidays. I've been struggling to watch the internationals and then making it up in the evening when we get home from doing interesting things.
Ooh.
And I've tried to watch the Wales-South Africa game 3 times and fallen asleep 3 times.
I think you're onto a winner there, John.
Yeah, it was really, really good. When I watched the game, we only lose by about 14-0.
So not only do you not watch the game, but you also have a reliable way of falling asleep. That's the dream.
It's great. I mean, I'm saving a lot of money on whiskey. That's all I can say.
Oh, a hell of a lot, Alback. So the reason we are actually here is there's been quite a lot of news since we signed off, and obviously fixing Hugh's addiction need.
We signed off and the Scarlets signed on.
The Scarlets did sign on to PRA 25 as I double check the current year. Yeah, so the final of the 4 regions to sign on to PRA 25, secure no fund until 2028.
Last man standing is how I choose to interpret it. We lasted the longest.
Yeah, so, rumours going around, obviously we had sort of verbal agreements in place, hence has actually been able to sign players. But, getting it over the lines, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, finally done. I know a lot of fans were a bit twitchy, wondering why.
Pringle definitely was. He's in the group chat every day saying, "Have we signed PRA 25 yet? Why haven't we signed it yet? Are we going? Are we dead? Is that us finished?" I was like, "No."
Yeah,
you were the voice of calm, Mark. You were like, "It's fine."
It's always fine. There'll always be Scarlets, whether it's Scarlets, Leslie Scarlets. There'll always be one forever and ever, not going anywhere. But it does mean, obviously, we got guaranteed rugby for the next 2 seasons, at least on this current deal. So, we can actually plan ahead for the first time in what feels like many, many, many moons. So, that's promising. And, I have been told we're already well into next season's recruitment and planning. So that's great news for everyone.
Any sort of long-term security is nice after having no stability or confidence in the last 2 seasons. Maybe it's really nice to have a bit of a feeling of we have something for 2 more seasons in the URC.
Yeah,
and I do like how everyone stopped saying it's 2030 now. Everyone is now just it's 2028. Yeah, okay.
No, according to some councils, it's well into the 2030s.
Is it really well into the 2030s? As in -2 years into the 2030s? Yeah.
I think the more promising thing overall is obviously we know the WRU are messing around with things, blah, 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 but they're incomplete at the minute and nothing's going to happen whilst they don't have a full, board membership. So the longer that continues, and you'll imagine it's going to drag out a little bit longer again, we're not going to hear anything on that front, which is only good news because they still got to give that X amount of notice, haven't they? But that done and dusted out of the way, we have done quite a lot of work behind the scenes, as in we as in the Scarlets. So shall we start off with our new coaches that are coming in?
Yeah. How many have we
So
got? We've got a defense coach. We've got an interim defense coach. Have we got a scrum coach yet?
no, I
scrum
don't
coach.
think we'll be having a scrum coach, but I'll be, pleasantly surprised if we do. It's just the wording of when our forwards coach was signed by. Well, technically, Nigel Davis is a new signing as well because he's no longer interim. So I guess we could take that up to 4. So we
Big
now
Nige
have
is permanent.
we have a permanent director of rugby for 2 seasons.
If his photo has the same quality as all the other coaches on the website, then he's moved from interim to permanent. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously I know we've spoken about this in previous pods, and we were happy for and we expected Nigel to stay around for at least another season. But how we feeling about him being around for 2 years?
It gives stability. It gives leadership. He's a Scarlets man. We needed a director of rugby. That's been painfully clear for the last since when Vivek left, basically. And so to have one in place is good. And I like that he seems to always be thinking about bigger than just, training for the next game. That's other people's job. The organization is his bigger raison d'etre. And it's a role that we badly needed filled. And it's a guy who, cut him open, he bleeds scarlet.
Yeah,
as
100%.
do I.
And like Matt said, we're actually able to plan for next season's or the season after's recruitment now, which is something that it feels like we haven't been able to engage in that long-term planning for a while. And being able to do that is a luxury that we have, probably because we have Nige there for the next 2 seasons, and he can actually plan and build a backroom staff and build a squad around what he actually thinks we can achieve in that time.
It also gives us more time to actually arrange his successor, which is something that we really struggled with. Obviously, we brought Mo in, which was absolutely brilliant, but that, as we all know, that went tits up, and we eventually ended up then bringing Peel in, and a lot of things have happened ever since. So it's good to have, a solid, let's say, 12 to 18 months to, arrange to get, either a DOR, a new set of head coach, or whatever through the door. So I'm, very happy with how it's currently set up.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who was announced first, but let's go with our new defense coach, Eamon O'Carroll, currently at St. Helens Rugby League.
Yeah. Speaking about getting people through the door, here is a coach who is not yet through it and will not be for a few months.
Well, he's dipping in and out, because if you actually read the original press statement, unless it's been amended after the fact, it does say that he wasn't going to be in until October. However, he will be he will be contributing, is the exact wording, I think, to the pre-season, and he will be kind of part of the planning, and he will be making trips to Llanelli in that time.
So he will be joining at the culmination of the Super League season. Now, depending on what date that will be. So the grand final is the 3rd of October. There is only URC round 2. But obviously, St. Helens might not even make it that far. He could be with us full time even sooner. Not sure entirely what the arrangements are. If he has, a couple of weeks holiday and he'll come back to us, back end of October, wherever. But he will be coming in and out, and it's not as though we're just leaving the position empty, because we've pulled in an interim defense coach in club legend Steph Hughes, who he's a good young coach. We know how good of a player he was, and again, from the original announcement, it seems as though he's just going to be given everything, or already has been given everything Eamon wants done, and he's going to be implementing his system now, getting it ready for when he actually arrives. So other than maybe a different intensity or style that Eamon will bring, we are having a few months of this actual defense program in place. It's not like we're doing all preseason, couple rounds in the URC, and then okay, we're going to flip our entire defense now to what this new guy wants.
That was kind of the worry, because I had premonitions of kind of we pick up a tough result early doors and we go, oh well, we haven't had the new defense coach in yet, and then we pick up a tough result maybe in December is normally when we pick up a couple of tough results, and we say, oh well, the defense coach missed the preseason, so we're all still learning the system and stuff. That's what I don't want. So if we get into the season and we hear people saying something along those lines, that would be unimpressive. But if it's the case of, no, we've got a plan, it's all going to be coordinated, and it's going to hit the ground running when he arrives in October, then good. So let's hope that is what's happening.
I actually think the timing, okay, it's obviously not ideal that he can't come over, but with Steph there, that transition will be easier. But if he's coming at the beginning or middle of October, if they make it to the final, obviously, that does give the window for the second leg of the Nations Championship, where obviously we'll be off there as well. That means there's a little bit of a transition time. Steph has been there. Players have learned the system. Maybe they've had a game or two before Aben turns up. And then there's a really nice transition period over October before he gets the lads just by themselves in training multiple times during that international window. And so I would hope that we can come back into that next block afterwards, or, in the lead up to Christmas, with a little bit more of a clearer idea of exactly what he wants to execute then.
Yeah. Nigel, in his statement about him, talked a lot about his character, and he talks about how defense is all about, it's not just about systems, it's about character and it's about trust. And I thought that was a really telling words to use, because I think we talked about at the end of last season, for example, why we give away so many penalties as a team. And I really do think that lack of trust in the defensive system is a massive problem for the Scarlets, despite what everybody says, positive things about Jared's Payne. And I got a message off, because he's gone to Munster, and I got a message off a Munster fan saying, what do you think of Jared Payne? And I was like, on the one hand, everybody seems to like him, and on the other hand, it's been kind of chaos in the backroom stuff while he's been there, so it's hard to blame anything on him. However, on the secret third hand, you couldn't say that our defence was ever particularly good under him, apart from maybe season before last.
Yeah, it was okay during that season, but it was the attack that actually made that season more than anything. But yeah, one thing I am wondering now is how long Steph is actually going to be with us. Because
I was wondering that, because I wouldn't be against him sticking around,
Yeah, exactly. Now, looking at, the overall coaching team that we've got, so I need to find where I've actually put it now. Knowing me, I'm never.
Because is Sanjay sticking around? Sanjay's sticking around, isn't he?
Again, I'm really not sure, but so obviously we haven't come on to him yet. But so Aaron Dundon is the forward coach to come in. So we've got Nigel Davis, DOR. Then on the field, we've got Dwayne, who hasn't been confirmed leaving or staying. So we're assuming stay, of course. Eamon O'Carroll, Steph Hughes, Aaron Dundon, Albert Vandenberg, Bradley Davis, who we know is contact, and Scott Snedden, who is our kick-in and transition coach. So, there's plenty of room in there. Like, we are missing a dedicated attack coach, and that is what Steph has been doing when he first transitioned in with Dragons and over in MLR. So I wouldn't be against him adding on as an assistant attack coach. It kind of seems like it falls into the lap, really.
You would think that it's the next few months are almost like a kind of like an extended interview process for him. If he does a good job with the boys, you can imagine that there's a position for him there.
Yeah. Because you'd think that this position is literally just following instruction, and when you're an assistant attack coach or an assistant to someone, that is more or less what 90% of your job is anyway. So I can imagine that very much being the case.
I think this is kind of a model that Welsh rugby as a whole needs to go down anyway, because we're not ever gonna be the top payers in world rugby, and if we accept that a certain proportion of Welsh players are going to leave, whether that's across the bridge or wherever, then our identity needs to be about coaching, and our selling point needs to be, come to us, we'll turn you into a better player. And so having massive coaching tickets, and to be honest, this is one of the few things that I always agreed with Warren Gatland on, which was he always said, you guys worry way too much about how much you're paying players and not enough about who's coaching the players. And I think that's fair. So more coaches is more better, in my opinion.
Obviously, there is a standard in the hit, but 100%. On to that aforementioned forwards coach, and I apologize if I am butchering his name, but Aaron Dundon is coming in as our forwards coach, and he is aligning the forward scrum and the line out and streamlining it all, which can only be a good thing. Obviously, we know that Emir Phillips, who was our scrum coach a little while back, has now been fully removed and is now head of the academy. So that opens that up. And Albert Vandenberg has been just handling the line out. So I'm imagining is not much change in there for him, but probably just a few conversations of how they're going to work things, especially forwards moves going from the line out.
He's probably the one guy in the building who's been doing an unquestionably good job since he arrived, Albert Vandenberg, because the line out, especially the line out defense, is probably the best thing about us and has been for 2 years.
I'm happy whenever I see a whenever an opposition gets 50-22, I think, great, that's an exit for us. So unquestionably he's doing a good job. It's interesting the language that they use in the statement, as in the Scarlets use, announcing Aaron Dundon's appointment, when they do say the streamlining, when they specifically call out Vandenberg for line out, and while listing all of the other duties that he's expected to take on. I was trying to read it there. I realized I had Eamon O'Carroll's in front of me, where they do specifically say, that wider strengthening of the coaching group. Where was the quote? Where they essentially list different responsibilities of the coaching group, and point out line out more collision being Bradley Davis's area, and line out and more being Albert Vandenberg's. So I wonder if he is a scrum coach for us in all but name. I mean, he is a hooker. Like, you could imagine it. He didn't have an incredible playing career for Leinster, but having almost 50 caps for Leinster in any situation, you have to be a decent enough scrummager. So.
Not all coaches are top players as well.
No. Well, I mean, if that's the case, everyone would know every single coach from front to back just from memory. But yeah, like I do like having a dedicated scrum coach, but given what we have had since what was his name? Frank's left. I can understand taking it back a level, putting it under the one big umbrella and then working towards it. Now, very similar what I'd like to see with Steph as an assistant. I wouldn't mind having another assistant forwards coach who would start taking on that position, because we've got plenty of good young coaches, especially within our academy. Tom Phillips, who's just taken over as full head coach for Carmarthen Quins. There's quite a lot of boys in there that can do that. Now, this one is at the Dragons currently, which I know, but he also coaches with Ammanford, and that's Rodri Jones. Can you loose head and tight head? So, and from what I'm hearing down there is he's a very, very good scrum coach and developing fast. So I wouldn't mind trying to get a few words in, or come back home. We've got a place for you. I would not be against that whatsoever.
Yeah, I think this is probably the future of coaching. Is it's kind of like heads of departments, isn't it? So you would have your forwards department, and then your attack department and stuff. So having assistance, like I said, repeat myself, more is better. More is more.
More is more. That rounds out all our coaching recruitment for now. Who knows what else may or may not come in. So on to players, because we've signed.
Can I ask a question?
Go
Can I
for
ask
it.
a question about players? If I asked you both what our weakest position was in the last season, what would you say?
Ooh, 10 and lock, but 10 probably edges it.
Yeah, same. I agree.
Okay, so what position have we signed the most so far in this off season?
Lock.
I'm very happy, to be honest, with our recruitment so far.
I would prefer if we had a 10. And there is a rumor swirling around that we might have signed one. I'm not sure about that, so I'm not going to say anything more on that. But we've made 7 signings according to All Rugby. Corey Domachowski, who we've known about for ages. John McGee, who we've known about for ages, both front rowers. So that's a prop and a hooker. And then you got Cullen Grace and Alex Groves and Harvey Cuxon as locks. Obviously, we know about Harvey Cuxon and Alex Groves because they played for us last year on loan. You've got Cullen Grace and Tom Allen are both listed as locks on All Rugby, but to be honest, I think they're probably a bit. I think Cullen Grace is a back row.
Yeah, he's 6'4". He's back.
Yeah,
I think Allen's only played in the at lock though. No.
Yeah, well, he's 6'6", so I would imagine. I don't think he's
same
played
as Tame.
No, Tane's 6'5".
Okay.
He's a few centimeters taller than
Yeah.
Tane. But that generally is the cutoff for a lock once you get into 6'5". But Tane doesn't quite have the mass of a lock, which we've we've found out when he's gone into the row.
Yeah, Cullen Grace has played lock 4 times and is listed as a lock online, whereas he's played number 8 or blindside 83 times. So I think he might be a back row. Yeah.
So where's he slotting in then? Because at the moment our first choice back row is obviously Fletch, Captain Josh, and Tane. So where is this guy wearing 20?
I think it's pretty much a case of rotation. You need to have,
because Josh and Tane. Tane's obviously a lot with Wales a lot. Josh gets injured a lot.
I mean, we've got a few boys that are stepping up in the academy. They haven't been given, full-time deals yet. Ocean Williams one, Dom Kossuth he's still really young, but he looks tremendous every time he steps on the field. It's unlucky he was injured because he would have been out with the 20s, which we'll come on to. You need a core of, 6 quality back rowers, and you just go through them throughout the season. So, we've got 4 proper top ends. We've got a match day squad of top proper talent that can do it. And then we're probably, we've got likes of Dan Davis and Tristan Davis who, they can do a job, but they don't exactly set the world alight. And then those youngsters, so, they're going to slot in wherever they slot in, those 4. We know they're going to be match A. It's just who is going to wear what. I would imagine, like you said, Fletch, Josh, and Tane will be, the main core. I think Cullen will come in, possibly even move in Tane to 7 if Josh isn't available, because I think he'll be there for more for experience as well. Because Fletch and Tane are still pretty young, despite how top end their performances can be. So I just think it's going to be that core 4 if they fit, and then everyone else is just going to rotate around.
I mean, I can't remember whether or not Jared's announcement that he was leaving the club had come out before or after we did the last pod.
I think it was.
I think it had. Was it after?
Yeah, I'm pretty. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was because we had the leavers list before the final game, and then it was quite a few weeks before Jared was announced. Because had Jared stayed, I think that'd be I would have been really happy with our lock situation. Give us enough to play every single week, really. Give people ample rest, etc.
Yeah, what I was going to say is when I look at Grace, he kind of makes me think of like when Taylor would come on late at 6 in a game. That's the sort of role I see Grace kind of filling in, like being a bench position, but like you say, rotation is welcome, obviously. I think we have to see how he goes. Like, obviously, he can play 8 as well. Fletch, if we play him for every single minute of every single game again this season, he will eventually break. Like, he's young, like he can do it at the moment, but we can't abuse him
I think,
nonstop. So we need someone else at some point to step in.
well, on that subject, Grace has struggled with injuries, and I think he missed a whole season due to injury down south. So for me, that one is the one that's a bit of a risk. Obviously, I hope all of these signings turn up and play the house down. I want every Scarlets player to be successful. I want the Scarlets to be successful. I think that Grace is probably the one where we most need to be prepared of it not working out, just because he has had a big injury and he's gone from, I think he's a capped All Black, to coming over here. So that suggests that something, in the nicest possible way, his career's taken a turn that maybe he wasn't expecting. So we just need to be open-minded about, okay, let's see how this guy goes. Like I said, I hope that he's amazing. And I've spoken to people who said there was loads of hype about this guy, but it was the injuries that kind of hurt him. So let's see. I think the other Kiwi lads that we've signed, because there's always what's he called? Isaac Murray?
McGregor Murray. Or something.
McGregor Murray.
Murray
Also a
McGregor.
young kid, Welsh qualified. He's a Scarlet through and through. He used to play rugby in Joe Roberts' back garden. So he's clearly has Scarlet's pajamas ever since he was born. The thing is with these lads that we're signing from New Zealand is we've got loads of experiences of kind of unheralded Kiwis coming up to Wales and being like international quality within 6 months, like Blair, Tane being the main examples of that. So you can kind of read their CVs on paper. Like Tom Allen, if you read his CV, you're like, oh, it's not like he's a Super Rugby regular. He's obviously starting for the best team, arguably the best club team in the world at the moment, the Hurricanes. But he's not really in that team. But Fletch wasn't in the Crusaders, and he's statistically been the best number 8 in the URC. So you never know. I think we need to be open-minded about these signings, and our track record is probably more positive than negative.
Yeah, 100%. It seems as though, we tend to find these ones that, they're not exactly overlooked, but they're not being given the opportunities, when they probably, should have. And it's given them not so much a sour taste, but it's given them an open-mindedness to try something new. And we've just been there to pounce. It's like, I do like the Tom Allen signing. Like, I'm not 100% sure on what his, qualifications are, if he is Welsh qualified at all. But, it does give us, now a strong stable. I say a strong stable, a larger stable of locks. We can actually say we've got 6 first-team locks on our books for the first time. And it feels like I can't remember ever saying that whilst doing this podcast, which is, a sad thing overall. But, looking at the 3 of them, obviously we know a bit about Groves and Cox, and they've been on loan, so we know, obviously the club has seen them, they've seen what they can offer, and like, yes, we can do with that. So that's great. Tom Allen coming in, he's a young kid now. We'll be turning 22 tomorrow, actually, the 23rd of July. So, again, he's a lock forward. He's a young guy who knows how they're going to develop. So, we're in that position. We got Sam Lousy, Jack Price, and Will Evans as the ones that are already here, along with Groves, Cuxon, and Allen. So, I'm happy then. I do expect it to be Lousy and Groves, the starting partnership, at least as we enter into the season, and then with Cuxon, Allen, and Will Evans sort of maybe rotating around.
Oh, yes. More on Will Evans later. Anyway, newsflash. I've had a vintage parcel arrive.
Oh, a vintage parcel. What could this be? This isn't on the agenda, people.
Hopefully it's not drugs, and this has been opened up as this is a mistake to open this on camera.
Recorded camera.
I didn't order any drugs. Not off vintage anyway.
There it is. Evidence.
There it is.
It's how he's able to do all these podcasts.
Lovely.
Ooh, that looks nice.
Now that looks like a logo for a team that you can't buy merch for. So where could that possibly have come from?
Vintage, he said.
Size-wise, I think it might be all right, actually.
No.
So this is... for the listeners, I told Mark if it didn't fit me, I'd send it to him, but it looks like it might fit me. This is a Brython Thunder fleece. Now, it's not fleece time of year. So obviously, I'm about to try this on, and I should be quite warm when I do that. But this was being sold on Vinted. Some of these Thunder girls were selling their stash on Vinted. So this, I think, is Meg Lewis's fleece.
Is her name written on the label? That's normally how you can tell.
Oh, that's a good question. I'll check in a moment.
I bought an Ireland jersey years ago and from an under-20s player, and his name was written in the back of it. So,
did he get a full cap?
I bought it. Hattie bought a load of stuff. Hattie said, just to let you know, there was a load of Brython Thunder stuff on Vinted, but I bought all of it, so it's not there anymore. But I went on and I
that
found
looks
this.
too big for you, mate. Looks way too big for you.
I think it's all right because it said it's a large, but it might be a lady's large.
No, a fleece has to really hug the figure. You can't have any loose fabric.
It's Macron. Oh no, Mark. So it fits me like a glove. Sorry, mate.
It does fit him. But he is a woman's large.
Yeah. Woman's large or boy's
how
medium.
Is this? Like you said, John, this is a special item.
When you said you were going to put that on, I was worried you were going to start stripping. That was a thought in my head.
No. Right, I'm going to search it for
same thought, but worry wasn't the emotion that came into my mind.
Oh, tidy. I thought there might have been one of them shitty print-on ones.
Anyway, is that a nice segue to say that we've had some new Scarlets kit launched as well?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't quite finished on the players, but yeah, we've got a new... No, George Roberts, you failed to mention.
Oh, sorry. It's actually an XL apparently, but it's definitely a ladies XL because it fits me nicely. I'm a medium.
But yeah, that segue does work well. Obviously, the 26-27 Scarlets training kit has been launched in partnership with VX3. And some people may not like it, but I'm liking it. The purple or periwinkle color, as we've been told, is formally called. And then, was it mint sage green is the opposite.
Can you pop it on the screen?
Yeah,
put it on screen.
Some really nice ones on the warm-up tees. Specifically, I do like them.
No money in the pockets.
Wow. We knew he was cheap, but
yeah, wow. Ignore this replica tab. Everything now is purple and green.
There's only socks in our replica tab.
God,
anyway.
I looked at it arms and everything, don't they?
Bang in the middle. Oh. I do like that.
I mean, the man can't wear anything.
It's not for me, lads. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It's not Scarletsy for me.
What's wrong with you?
Wait for the replica kit. This isn't meant to be like full on Scarletsy.
But it's
training leisure wear. It's different.
I like the kind of stripy one. I don't mind that green one with the dark sleeves. That's all right.
That is all right. Very Connacht. The green stuff is very Connacht for me. You can imagine Cordor wearing that.
The good thing for me is my kids have a green school, so yay. Excuse to get them a food jacket.
Nice. I might have to get a pair of them shorts.
Caldor is definitely the kind of bloke who'd go out in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops and go, it's a bit cold, and put a gilet on with no sleeves. There you go. Nice and warm.
100%.
He'd have a vest and a gilet.
I can see Benji in that purple and green hat. I can see that every day.
Definitely. Oh, we've got so here's something. We've got the old stuff there, but clearly there's some other things that they've loaded the JPEG for here.
Yeah, there's Hawaiian shorts and t-shirt, a new one for this year apparently. That's nice. And accessories is just hats and towels.
In those colors, I think it would be very good. I will say, if you are going for the mint green, the red hat is probably not a good combo.
Purple hat.
I'm gonna close this now because Cordor's short shorts and vest is we're gonna get demonetized.
Demonetized.
Yeah. Between those and Hugh trying on the fleece, I need to sit down for a while.
Yeah, the blood has boiled a little bit too much. So,
right. What haven't we talked about yet?
So it's on to the fun stuff for me, to be honest, because I like to talk with.
Yes. Mart is going to explain to us why the Scarlets pack might be troublingly ginger moving forward.
Troublingly ginger. That's harsh. That's really harsh. So he's referring to the Junior World Championship where the Wales under-20s finished a very positive 6th position. And, we weren't far off, getting into that top 4, to be in the actual contention for the championship. So we opened up with, a really good win over Georgia, 25-24. I think we might be the only Six Nations team that the Junior Lilos haven't beaten. I'm pretty sure they've beaten the other 5. They just, or at least beaten England, Ireland and Scotland. They just can't get across the line against us. It was a really tough game, went down to the wire. I think we held the ball up. Yeah, we did. We held the ball up as the clock turned 80 to get our wins. That was amazing.
Do you remember who held the ball up?
It's always Kaz.
Kaz has done it like 3 times.
That's one of his best defensive abilities, to get under that ball when someone about 3 times his size is crashing over. So fair play to the kid. He's doing well. He had a great tournament. Now, people who watch this, you need to understand these are under 20s players. So some are as young as 17, 18. It's not a tournament of consistency. It's a tournament of highs and lows. You see these boys do some absolutely tremendous things, but you'll see some major mess ups at the same time. And there were a few for everybody, to be fair. But no, this was one hell of a game, and I've got a light that's flickering, so that's not good. Yeah, so second game was then Uruguay, which was, we made quite a few changes. Nice, easy route, 47-0. Then came the big one in the group stage, South Africa, reigning champions. And, we opened really well. I think we went 14-0 up. We looked proper up for this. And it was a tight game for a good hour. We were well in it all the way through. And we just kind of run out as you generally do against any South Africa side. They South Africa, they got the depth of bloody every other nation combined. So, they were bringing on, their bench really solidified it. So it was a 52-33 win for South Africa in the end.
Not bad scoring, 33 though.
No, it's not. When you look at the semi-final scores and whatnot, you see that, South Africa are that level. So we're not that far behind. And this was a really good tournament. So came to the semi-final, so the 5th to 8th playoff. We ended up against Australia. Won this one. Cracking game. If you're going to watch any game, this one I do recommend. 38-36 we win. Australia did cross the line for a winning try, only to be called back for a knock-on. Literally, well, I think it might have been 2 passes earlier. It was heartbreaking for them, but brilliant for us. It was one hell of a display. And we didn't make many changes. At least we didn't make as many full rotations in those 4 games. So, most of our players had played in excess of 200 minutes in the 20-odd days they were there. So by the time we came to play Scotland, we were kind of knackered, and we ended up, finishing 6th and losing, 28-21 to them. But I'm not too bothered about them, because every time we've played them in the last year, we've comfortably won. Beat them in the Six Nations. We beat them in 2 or 3 warm-up games. Since the performances were Georgia, South Africa, and Australia, and we proper showed. We won 2 of them, and we showed the world champions, just how good, we can be, which bodes well for the future. So, like you were saying, there's a few gingers that we might be seeing in the forward pack, and we had 3 on show. So, obviously, Will Evans, as we've mentioned, he was standout. Fair play to the boy. I'm looking forward to him stepping up to URC, and
he looks like a proper lock, doesn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's a big boy. And, he can do it. The other ones are Jack Pritchard, a tight end. I absolutely love Pritch. He's brilliant in everything that he does, and he loves the scrum, and he's proper. And then the third one is another tight head, Yestin Cook. And fair play in that Australia game. Jack Pritchard was absolutely knackered by the time he went off 68 minutes. Iestyn came on. The Australian loosehead, King something, giving it the big one, as you do. Comms were actually bigging him out, saying, this guy's legend. Iestyn comes on and just holds strong. He can't do nothing, wins a couple of penalties. His introduction in that game, stops Australia from getting any further down the field. Quite a few scrums happened those last 12 minutes. And without Iestyn's intervention there, that game would have easily been also, huge plaudits to Iestyn, especially for that. Who else did we have in it? Obviously, the one and only Carwyn Leggett Jones, who started all bar in the Uruguay game, and he was top quality throughout. You can't fault the kid. He done absolutely everything that he was asked of and more. Single-handedly winning that Georgia game in the end. Getting under that ball. Just makes everyone around him look good. And the pace at which he plays, like the opening try against Australia, it was Jack Pritchard, take the ball first receiver, little pop in behind the cars, ball goes wide, and it's lovely. Watching him play, it brings a smile to my face because he just plays the game the way you want to see it played. The Scarlets way is absolutely amazing to see. So obviously those boys will be having a little bit of time off. About now, I think the final game was 5 days ago, so expect they'll probably come back in either last couple of days of July or first week of August. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. On to the academy. So we have had a few academy signings to look at. So 5 all in, but 2 of them not from the 18s. So we'll talk with the ones that have come from a junior academy first. So Hudson Nevin, he's a loosehead. He's at Llandovery College, best mates with Kaz. You'll see a nice photo of them on his old man's socials, because Hudson actually went out for that final game against Scotland because they were struggling for looseheads. Forgot to mention that. So he answered the 11th hour call. So same age as Kaz, so he's only just turned 18, so he's got another 2 years left of 20s. And for a prop, coming in that early is good out. He's, a lot of good things. He's already made his SRC debut with Quins. Looked good in the few scrums. High hopes for that boy. Next up, wherever they may be, Alfie Luger, scrum half from Tembe. He's a Wales 18s scrum half for the last few years. So he's a good talent that we're looking forward to. Jaden Brown,
great name as well. Just as a fan of a name, Alfie Luger sounds like a Bond villain.
Oh yeah,
be perfect.
100%. Then in the centres we got Jaden Brown, who hails from Porthcawl. Again, I believe he's a Llandovery College boy. He's had some time with injury. He hasn't quite got the age grade caps, but every time he has been fit and he stepped on our field for the 18s, he just looks a level above. So, a lot of high hopes for them. And then on to the 2 that didn't come directly from the junior academy. We have got Gabriel Casey, if that's how you pronounce it, who was in our academy, but he's been with, I can't remember what uni, but he's been, playing Bucks rugby. He's a Netherlands under-20s international. He's a tall boy. He's 6'6", 120 kilos.
Yeah,
I know he was well thought of when he was in the junior academy. I'm assuming, obviously, we've kept a lot of close links with him, and that's why we've now been able to pull him in on a full academy contract, which is great to see, especially as we always need locks. And the last one is scrum half George MacDonald of Llandovery. I believe he was originally a Llanelli Wanderer. He's 22 years old, so he's not a young boy, but he looks impressive. And he's obviously last season we had Rodri Lewis on the books. We've released him now and brought George in. George actually came on trial last summer with us as well. So I'm thinking it's more to do with numbers and what we could offer as to why he didn't have a deal then. But he's a promising player. He looks good in SRC. Obviously, he's had Lee Reese to contend with at Llandovery, so you wouldn't expect him to be getting double-figure starts. But he has been playing almost every single game, other than when he gets red cards for reckless tackles. But the less of that, the better. But it's a good intake for the academy to see, and I'm expecting positive things from quite a few of them. And as we're speaking of the academy, there's some fixtures we should have a little look at if anyone is interested. So we got this coming Thursday, the 30th. If you can get to Bristol Grammar School, you'll see our 18s take on Ulster under 18s. If you can't do that, the following day at Llandovery, our 17s are taking on Dragon 17s. Then a week later, on the 6th of August, it's the Malvern 17s Festival, where you play all the other elite teams around England, some Wales, professional academies. It's a great event. And for those that can't get there, the following day at Llandovery, the 7th of August, we will be playing Ealing under 18s. We played them at New Dock last year, and I believe that game was a draw. We've also got the opening block of the Academies under 18s Championship coming next month and into early September. So 16th of August, we're playing Ospreys. No idea where because they don't have a home. Then we got RGC on the 23rd, which will be at the Drovers, playing Cardiff on the 6th of September, which is Cardiff Arms Park, and then Dragons on the 13th of September in Llandovery. So if you're a season ticket holder, show your membership on your phone or card, whatever you have, and you get for free for those games. So, happy dappy days. And the last little thing to touch on, because we don't get to see this before we actually start recording the season proper, is the Doer Shield. The start of our pathways kicks back off on the 4th of September. All 5 of our teams are competing in the top tier this year. Wasn't the case last year. I believe Pembrokeshire was the one that missed out, but all 5, Carmarthen, Ceredigion, Llanelli, Mynydd Mawr, and Pembrokeshire, all in the top tier. They'll be playing, how many is that? 3, there'll be 7 games over a case of a film ban. So 4th of September is the first one, 11th September, 25th, and we'll be back on then, so I'll keep you updated then. So, look out for your local and get involved. Watch your boys, see the stars of the future. Whew, I've run out of breath now. So just one last thing to really talk about. Yeah. Should we say goodbye?
No, we have to. This has all been very optimistic so far, so it's time for a healthy dose of pessimism.
Yes, and we know it's pessimism when we're talking about the national team of Cymru. Yes, so the Nations Championship and, of course, the Barbars thing that was played before it. So obviously coming out to the final match, we've had them go, it's been promising, you can see progress. Now, I'm not going to insult anybody here, but do any of you actually see any progress in this team?
I think the only thing more embarrassing than the actual game against South Africa is the people saying that it was the reduction of 73-0 to 43-0 should be celebrated. It's like South Africa were 30 points worse than themselves in November without Wales doing a damn thing. So I was thinking about this in terms of progress from Wales. Has there been any progress from Wales? And I'm on camera saying that there has been, so I can't go back on that. I think that since the start of the Six Nations, I think during the Six Nations we got better game on game. The caveat to that is that particularly the first half against England in game 1 was, I think, up there for one of the worst halves that the Six Nations Championship has ever seen in its history. And then the France game was just abject rather than actually insulting to watch. But we got the win by the end of the fixture. Then we got against Italy in the last game, and then we got into the Barbars game, and losing that would have been a disaster. Winning that was non-negotiable, and we won it by 2 points. And I was there, and there were times in that second half where the Barbarians looked like a damn sight better team than Wales did. So I kind of okay, we got the win, let's move on. Then we beat Fiji. And we gave him credit saying, okay, you've won 3 games on the bounce now, and you just got the result. You got it done. It needed to be done, and you got it done. And then he went into Argentina, and I was like, okay, it wasn't great, especially the second quarter between 20 and 40 minutes. I thought was particularly poor, but I thought the second half was all right. And obviously, if you compare it to the Argentina game from November back in Cardiff, it was obviously a lot better than that. So I was like, okay, I'm still seeing progress. Steve Tandy then decides to go and completely undermine any sense of progress that Wales men have had with the most nonsensical, demented team selection you have ever seen in your life. Like, I have no... It simultaneously smacked of some players being thrown in just because they hadn't had a game yet. So he'd promised everyone a game, so he chucked a few players in. He started a 9-10-12 that we know doesn't work and has never worked, but he started it anyway. And then other players like Dewi Lake passed a late fitness test. So in some positions he was like, well, yeah, throw some fresh boys in. And some positions he was like, no, will not change, must not change. And then some boys he gave an opportunity to against Argentina, they were straight out again. And so didn't have an opportunity to build on what they'd done in Argentina. And then the bench selection is, I think, is probably one of the worst bench selections I've ever seen. Like there was no impact ever coming off that bench in any position. Maybe Ruben Morgan-Williams could have brought a bit of zip to the breakdown, getting the ball away from the breakdown. Huh?
Elias was good.
Yeah, okay,
really
but
well.
I think Lake for Elias is kind of same, you know, in terms of style of player. And like Hawkins coming on, what I want to know is, if Max Llewellyn hadn't gotten injured, what was the plan for bringing Hawkins on? What was the best case scenario? Because I think the best case scenario was a straight swap with Ben Thomas. So you're taking off one playmaking 12 and then replacing him with another playmaking 12 who you were going to ask to do exactly the same. And my question is, at 50 to 60 minutes into a game away to the Springboks, what impact are you expecting that to have? Was he just injury cover? If so, we had an injury, and what happened was we had a midfield made up of 2 ball-playing 12s in a kind of worst of both worlds type scenario. Or was he genuinely thinking of bringing Joe Hawkins on at 10 at test level? In which case, I'm not sure I can back that either. So, yeah. I really can't back anybody saying that there were any positives whatsoever to take from the South Africa game, in my opinion.
I mean, I just can't wrap my head around, you know, especially the South Africa game, you know, Ben Thomas, Freddie Thomas, you know, Tommy Revel and Ruben Morgan-Williams. I don't understand those decisions to bring them in whatsoever. It's like you haven't played in, what was it, 3 weeks? When was at least 3 weeks? So did any of them play against? Yeah, so
Ruben
Williams. So he played. So he's had 46 minutes of rugby in the last 2 months, and then you bring him in for the final test. It's like, what? Why? You know, it's absolutely pointless by the time you're doing that. It doesn't add to continuity. I mean, you brought Kane James on for his debut against Argentina. Why then play another player who has played 0 minutes this entire campaign for the final test? Their non-match fitness is a massive, massive thing, you know. And we can go back to the Barbars game, and I don't think originally it was a must-win game, but the moment we named that 23, that put the pressure on. You know, we could have named a vastly different 23 for that one, and I'm shocked that we didn't, because there was players that we wanted to try, and then we just really didn't. You know, we give, Barrett, Warren, Woodman, and Keddy, what was it, a half at most in that game, and then 3 of them, we just said, okay, that's enough. You're done. We don't need to see you anymore. Like, where is the logic in that? You know, for me, this Welsh team needs revolution, not evolution. We need to bring in some different players and actually look at them properly. Not where we've had one game here, a couple bench appearances there. Actually, give these boys an actual chance to adjust to international rugby. Like Ben Warren, who's had bench appearances, is the only new player that we can say has really had an opportunity, during this campaign. We'd have Kane James made his debut. He's had 14 minutes. What we haven't learned nothing, absolutely nothing. We've given him a cap. That's all we've done. You brought Reece Barrett in, but you were only going to play Carey and Nicky Smith anyway. So why not let him stay with the squad? And worst case scenario, he gets exposed to this level. It just boils my piss. And the Scarlets are exactly the same. Because I get on to them at the same time with transitioning, young academy boys into the first team as well. We don't give them the opportunities, and when we seem to do it, we're not doing it in the best possible way for them. We're not lining them up to succeed. I mean, in what way can you expect, a brand new tight head prop who has got the same scrum coach that he's had at regional level, I should say. He hasn't shone at regional level. He's struggled at regional level. He done okay doing this, but nowhere near international standard. And then you're playing them with not first choice scrummaging hookers or loosehead. Like you've got to make it so these boys have a chance to succeed. You bring new players in, you put the right players around them to make it easier. It's the same as Eddie James, even though he's been in this team for a while. Realistically, he's still quite new to international rugby because he's not a 13. He's a club 13. He can just about do the job at international level, but he's a 12. He's a real good 12. So why are we playing these boys out of position? No, like even with Blair, like I'm not done with Blade 15. I got no problem with him turning out there for Scarlet, but stick him on the left wing. Get someone else in at fullback.
I think he's one of the few Wales players to come out with credit in the bank.
I was going to say, I thought he actually did. I thought he did pretty well at 15, to be honest, in the games there.
But compared to how good he can be on the wing, I don't think it's a question.
I think wing is a bit of a problem for Wales because Lewis Ruzama just isn't at the races.
No,
he's been a shadow of himself. I don't know whether he's carrying a knock or what. And I think in Josh Adams and Ellis Mee, they're too similar. I don't think you can play both of them. They're both high IQ, secure defensively players who can finish when required, but they're not the guy that you're going to get the ball to in space and they're going to beat a man. I think playing both of them is too samey. I think you need something else, and whether that's Blair Murray, I don't think it will be long before Tom Bowen comes in, just for his pace and just bringing something different. Obviously, he'll probably have different struggles, with his height and things, but Lewis Rhys Amit's supposed to be the guy who brings a bit of something different, and he's just not been rocking up for whatever underlying reason. But it's I think with Wales at the moment, if you ask me what's Wales' biggest problem, defence or attack, I say yes. I think that the attack is useless. It's like watching Warren Ball. It's peak Warren Ball of just go through phases until they give away a penalty and then work our way down the field that way until we get within 5 meters. And then it's either a driving maul or a tap and go and we crash over with one of the forwards. And that's not rugby that I want to watch. It's just not. And like our phase play attack is clueless, and that's even when it gets going, because against South Africa on multiple occasions we couldn't even get past ruck 1, let alone worrying about what happened 5 rucks down the line. But then the defence, whether it's the Barbarians, whether it's Fiji, whether it's Argentina, or whether it's South Africa, they could go over us, they could go around us, they could go through us whenever they wanted. So when you've got a head coach in Steve Tandy, whose whole USP is supposed to be his defence, has the defence actually at any point during his tenure looked good?
I wouldn't say it's been at the level that they want it to be, obviously, and And they've brought in Murchie now. He hasn't really had any time to actually do anything yet. But what's been annoying me is people praising the scramble defense a lot of the time because okay, the scramble defense has been okay, but they're not setting fantastically after they scramble back.
I
Like
don't actually remember the scramble defense doing anything against South Africa. Just want to put that out there. And also, Harley messaged me and said scramble defense is just another way of putting passion and desire.
yeah,
Which,
it's urgency. It's urgency to get back. It's want, but it's and they are doing that because especially in a team that's losing as badly as Wales are regularly, it is very easy for you to not chase back with that sort of energy. So in that way, you can applaud it. But the problem is that they're not actually resetting the defensive line once they get into that position, once they fall back. They're not actually getting into a reasonable formation, and then you can find space normally outside the third defender. But when it comes to like the attack, I do get what you mean about saying it looks like Warren Ball. I don't think this is in any way intentional is the problem. Like I don't think that's what they want to do at all. Um, despite and then people keep saying, "Oh, have bigger ball carriers, have bigger ball carriers." There are enough good ball carriers in that pack and in Eddie James. Like there are players who can get you front foot ball. For some reason, they're all taking the ball at a standing start half the time, or we're just not able to get quick ball, and so it's just resulting in this sort of stagnant standing attack, which I think if that's the situation that you find yourself in, rather than just trying to go through a couple of phases and seeing if you can get something work, I'm a bit conservative in this way. Like I would rather kick. Like I would rather push them back more than maybe we are. But
Wales's kicking game has actually been statistically better than it looks. Because watching the games, you're like, oh, this isn't amazing, but it's actually been all right statistically in terms of retained kicks and things. We're hardly ever kicking on our terms though. We're hardly ever kicking when we want to. It's mostly kicking because we've been outmuscled and we just have to hoof it because nothing else is happening. That's mostly the reasons why we kick. So that's like a problem. I mean, I was doing the stats today, and in the Nations Championship, Wales have conceded the most line breaks of any team by some distance. We're the only team to have conceded more than 30. The next worst is Italy. We've conceded 8 more line breaks in 3 games than them, which is horrific. It's just really, really, really bad. I'm not sure what else to say. The attack is just unwatchable at the moment. If it's this kind of occurred to me a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Everyone was taking the piss out of Eoin Cunningham's Wales women for only be able to score tries from driving mauls or give it to Cecilia Tuipulotu and she'd crash over. Now in 2026, Wales men can only score tries from driving mauls or giving it to Rhys Carey who crashes over. That's the only way that we score tries. And if I ever do HG Rugby merch, the first thing that we'll have written on it will be maul tries don't count. Maul tries don't count. That's not attack.
I really strongly disagree with that opinion, but you sell that much. I, for one, will not buy it. Yeah. I just to go back on what you said about kicking on our own terms, right? I feel like the player who can kick on his own terms, even when the situation isn't favorable around, is Sammy. I do feel like Sammy is very good at turning a negative situation into, at the very least, a uncomfortable exit situation for the other team, or at least putting something that's contestable, getting enough hang time that it actually can cause problems for the back three. And I thought I thought that we did look better with Sammy on the pitch in the second half of the Fiji game and in the Argentina game.
So I don't think that's really a question of who we actually look and seem to perform better with a 10. And I really don't want to knock Dan Edwards because he's a young kid and obviously being an Osprey makes it seem that we might be bullying But what was it? South Africa, 18 minutes, 2 passes. 2 passes in 80 minutes rugby for a 10. I don't care if we're playing off 9 for the entire 80 minutes. That's just, what is the point in having you on the pitch? And, we've gone on about his defense, multiple times. It is non-existent to a degree. And again, I'm not saying this especially. I'm saying this to just point out what we got. Attack might not be great, but we're scoring tries and we can develop that. But, international rugby, it's built on defense. You need to keep teams out. Obviously, it's getting harder and harder now. Obviously, teams are developing a much better attacking system. We're seeing, score lines go through the roof. But that doesn't stop you focusing on that defense. And quite frankly, if we go position by position, can you actually say we've got the best available Welsh defenders in these positions? Because in quite a lot of them, we really don't. And, it just goes to show the further problem. Selection is always going to be up for debate, no matter what. But when you get people from opposite teams who slag players off coming and going, yeah, we kind of need him to start now. It's like I've had some Ospreys fans saying like, can you see if Joe Roberts will come play 13 because he's the only one that can actually defend there, and it's just funny because most fans can generally see this, at least the ones that watch enough and pay enough attention can see it. But then you're looking at these coaches and going, what exactly are you trying to get from this team? Because we're not seeing anything. You can't say it's and as far as I'm concerned, the 43-0 was worse than the 73. We had excuses for that 73. We didn't have, what was it, like 6 or 7 boys that were based outside of Wales. We had a full team. That was a severely weakened Springbok side with a brand new 10. A brand new man calling the shots. And that scoreline could have been well worse than 73. That could have been the worst scoreline we've ever received. They botched so many chances. We've got front rows that are not the best scrummagers in their position in Wales. And, we got, Adam Beard is still involved. And again, the Adam Beard bashing, but, everyone says he's brilliant in the line out. But that's as far as it goes. We need a full 8 to do everything. So, yeah, I'm just... With a full year in, 13 tests in, 57 players. No, that's ridiculous. And, we can get onto that another time. And the fact he hasn't picked quite a few there should have been. But I don't know where he's going to go here. Obviously, I know they're going to back Murchie now, who's coming as defence. But, come November, and who I know we got Japan as one game, then there's Australia and New Zealand. I'm worried for that Japan game. I really am.
Japan look a lot better now than they did a year ago.
Yeah. And it's they people always have the same opinion about Japan. Oh, these small guys will just they look at their pack. Their pack is huge. The pack is everyone well in excess of 100, 110 kilos, and they're not like bloody barely hitting 6 foot. You go, what is it? Dern's the lock. He's one of the best locks in the world right now. He's absolutely outstanding. That Japan game has become an actual worry for me. Where before this tournament, I wasn't even looking at there. So, yeah. Australia should have been the acid test to see where we are. But now that Japan game has become absolutely huge. Absolutely huge.
For me, on the selection, and obviously selection is always going to be the biggest talking point. I think that Tandy's making it a bigger talking point than it needs to be by just going back on himself. And he seems to be one of these coaches where if they win, he keeps the players in. And if they lose, then he takes players out. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of, no, but this is what we think is the right thing to do. It's just slapdash at times. And
it's hard to see where we go.
Yeah.
It really is. So obviously he came in, what was it, autumn So like I said, that Argentina game was his start. And I mean, Nick Tompkins played in that bloody campaign. I can't. Again, that still shocks me. But we had Ollie Cracknell, we've had Morgan Morse, James Ratty, Chris Coleman, Danny Southworth. Players come in, have some of very few caps, and then just forgotten about, just not even considered for the Six Nations or this campaign.
The thing about the attack is that everything about this Wales team now is being defined by the playmaking 12 thing. That selection policy is having a knock-on effect to absolutely everything else about Wales. It's certainly the back line, but also the attack. Because obviously, if you pick that kind of player at 12, it changes who you've got to pick at 13, which means that we are picking players at 13 who aren't natural 13s. And as well, as a Scarlets fan, we should be annoyed about this because it means that Hawkins and EJ13 is something that we're probably going to have to get used to, even though we all know that our best centre combo is EJ12 and Joe Roberts. Everybody knows that that's our best centres. So we've got to put up with that. But then again, it's just things that don't add up. Of you want a dual playmaking system, and when I think of like the Matt Sherratt dual playmaking system, I think of Cardiff. I think of Sheedy. Sheedy's nowhere to be seen. Jared Evans, they don't want to bring him in, and they're picking a fly off who doesn't. This isn't a kind of a hyperbolic, professional rugby player who can't pass, that kind of thing. A double playmaking system with one player in it who does not pass the ball. 10 passes in 2 starts in this Nations Championship. Like, Joe Hawkins has got significantly more. Like, the selections don't add up. The strategy, the apparent strategy, and who he's actually picking to carry out those roles don't add up.
Do we not think, like, because obviously Eddie James has like the skill set to be able, I think, to be that playmaking 12 option.
Yeah.
So why aren't they genuinely thinking about picking him at 12 for that?
I think they just think because the alternative at 13 for them is Max Llewellyn, and I think that everybody thinks that EJ is a better player than Llewellyn, and I probably agree with that. By a Scarlets fan over here.
But you're like your 12 selection shouldn't really be shouldn't be decided by who you want to play at 13. It should be the other way around, really. Like overall. So
it should be a combo.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is if it's because you don't want to play this player at 13, that's not a reason for playing another player at 12, is what I mean. Yeah. So like to be honest, I get like I'm really hopeful, going back to more Scarlet stuff, that Hawkins has a good season for us and that he can put behind him kind of what happened over the Christmas period. I'm worried if that doesn't happen, that we've kind of like played ourselves into a situation where he has to play 12 every single game for us now as well. I don't think we can see him being on the bench. Like, he's not going to start at 10 again. So like, as a Scarlets fan, I am concerned watching this. The longer this experiment goes on, yeah, like Hugh says, the more that we're going to have to get used to that as well.
The worst thing is, I mean, if we just look at our stock, talking to Scarlets, so Eddie James and Joe Hawkins are our 2 main 12s. Obviously, Johnny Williams is still there, but he can also cover 13, which is great. But then we look at 13, we've got Joe Roberts, and then we've also got Max Page coming through. So if we're saying we're sticking with Hawkins at 12, and like, well, Eddie's not going to be on the bench. Even though he can play that bench role, he can come on, he can have an impact. He's not going to be doing that. So he'll go to 13. And it's a case of, well, 2 seasons ago when Max Page broke through, he looked brilliant. And, he's coming through. Last year, he didn't have enough game time. And, if we're put in this position again, then he's not going to have enough game time again. Like, I'd have no problem, trying to form partnerships of, even if it obviously James and Roberts is one, and then if it was Hawkins and Page another, and just keeping those boys together and rotate them through the games as and when, and obviously we can use whichever one can actually cause an impact. Obviously, Max, Johnny, and Eddie to a degree is capable of having an impact within 23. But there's no reason. We got a minimum of 22 games a season, plus the few warm-ups and any games we put on during the nationals. 10 starts each. Players are happy with that, especially if they're playing international rugby as well. So there's no reason we can't do that. Even if we started the season saying Hawkins and Page started as our first centre, we have Eddie on the bench for a couple of games, and then we switch it up, and then there's a reason you have big squads just rotate and get players through. But I just hope that we actually stick with players in their actual positions. Because if it does end up that EJ stays at 13 with us, then I think I'm just gonna blow my mind. Because it's not that it's killing him, but it's not letting him become the player he truly can.
The season hasn't even started yet, and we're already talking about how we're going to rotate the centers and who we're going to pair with who. It's but it's you're right. Yeah, you're right. That it's summer, it's winter, it's autumn, it's spring. It's what we do. We're Scarlets fans. We have to talk about center combinations. That's the only thing.
Only thing worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
I know. I may talk about the front row. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, saying that, on the front row talk, I think it was Ruck Rugby actually named Kemsley Matthias as a bolter for the 2029 Lions, which I'm happy with.
Bolter, yeah. Yes. He would be. Love Kems. He would probably be a bolter, yes.
Who knows? Maybe if Tandy starts picking front rowers on the scrummaging ability.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Big yawn.
Anyway, pre-season coming up.
Yeah, pre-season. So we got games against Exeter and Saracens booked in so far. Hoping for at least a third.
Yeah, Saracens down the park, Exeter Sandy Park.
Good game.
Or is it still called that? Unless it's going to be called the McDonald's Yahoo Ranch or something.
The McDonald's Yahoo Sand Park.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised we haven't announced anything with Quins or Llanda. We've done that for a few seasons. Sad to see it.
We can't have them beat us again.
No, can't lose to them again.
Exactly. Got to put out a stronger team this time, not the academy.
Yeah.
But no, it's a decent setup. We actually got decent opposition to go against. Better than playing, just URC or championship teams. Although I'm not against playing a championship team to start off. Be nice to get maybe a French team. That'd be nice.
Could we pay for Canterbury to fly up? Half of their squad are already with us.
That was the other thing that happens is our Challenge Cup pool is shit.
Oh yeah, Sharks. Oh my god. I just don't want to play
Sharks, Newcastle.
We don't have Black Lion or Van. Van was what I was really
awesome. I wanted Van. I wanted Van away. I'm gutted.
No. That's what I'm saying. I wanted Van, and part of me wanted Black Lion as well. To be honest.
No.
I'm done with Black Lion. Never face Black Lion again as long as I live. Yeah. But Van would have been nice.
We'll talk about when we do the season preview pod and something. We just sack off the Challenge Cup. Nobody cares.
One season back in the Champions Cup, and we just can't deal with it anymore.
No.
Do we have anything else to talk about, or can we sign off and let the people resume their summer holidays?
Let's let the people resume their summer holidays. Benji, I assume, is on holiday. Never not that boy.
No, during his summer holidays, he goes to work.
Right. Exactly.
No, he's holidaying in London.
None of his colleagues will be there.
There we go. All right, then, lads. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful summer evening. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Like, share, subscribe as you do. And we will start this back up some point in 2 months' time. God, it's a long time before rugby. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.